Dear DJ Rose, I'd like to share my story. They told me that my life began on a night when the rain refused to stop. I was a baby, then too small to remember, and too young to understand. But that story was repeated to me so many times that it became my memory. They said I was found outside the orphanage gates during a heavy rain. No umbrella, no explanation. Just a crying child left in the dark, as if the storm itself was asked to take care of me. There was no letter beside me, no name, no reason why I was left, just silence. And the rain, growing up, that silence grew louder than any answer I could imagine. Every time it rained, something inside me tightened. While other children ran to their parents or watched the rain from the safety of their homes, I wondered what that night looked like. I wondered if my mother hesitated before walking away. I wondered if my father looked back even once. I wondered if they cried too, or if the rain cried for them. In the orphanage, I learned early how to survive without asking why. I learned not to ask too many questions, because sometimes the answers hurt more than the wondering. I learned to pack my emotions neatly, because no one stays forever. Caretakers change. Children get adopted. Goodbyes happen quietly, over and over again. I learned not to hope too much. I told myself that love was temporary, that people leave, that if you depend on someone too deeply, you will eventually be disappointed. So I became strong not because I wanted to be, but because I had to be. I learned to stand on my own even when my legs were shaking. I learned to smile even when I felt invisible. I grew up carrying a question I never asked out loud. Why wasn't I enough to stay for? Then one day, after all these years, the past knocked on my door. They came back, DJ Rose. My real parents, my blood, my beginning, stood in front of me like strangers who somehow knew my face. They were crying before I even knew what to feel. They said my name as if they had been holding it in their mouths all these years. They said they never forgot me. They said they were young, poor, afraid. They said they had no choice. They said leaving me was the hardest decision of their lives. But, DJ Rose, how do you measure hard? How do you compare their pain of letting go to a lifetime of growing up alone? How do you weigh their fear against all the nights I cried quietly, asking a ceiling for comfort? How do you accept apologies for birthdays missed, school events unattended, and milestones no one clapped for? They asked for forgiveness, and I froze. Because I don't know how to forgive people who were never there to hurt me again, but were absent enough to hurt me every day. I don't know how to suddenly open my heart to people who missed my entire becoming. I don't know how to call someone mother or father when I learned to survive without ever saying those words. Part of me wants answers. Part of me wants to scream. Part of me wants to ask why they didn't fight harder for me, and yet there's a small, broken part of me that still wants to be chosen this time. Chosen without conditions, chosen without being left behind. I hate myself a little for that part, because after everything, after all the pain, I still want to belong to someone. I still want a family. I still want to believe that maybe, just maybe, love can come late and still mean something. But DJ Rose, I am tired of being strong, tired of understanding everyone else's reasons, tired of carrying a past I never chose. So I ask you this, with a heart that has survived too much rain, is forgiveness something we owe to the people who left us? Or is it something we give only when our hearts are finally ready to stop hurting? Because right now, I don't know if I'm angry, or just deeply, painfully sad. So DJ Rose, please help me. Again, this is a child who grew up in the rain. Dear soul who grew up in the rain, let me say this slowly, clearly, and with all the love I have learned from life and loss. What happened to you was not your fault, not the rain, not the night, not the leaving. You were a baby. And babies are meant to be held, not explained away by circumstances. I want you to hear something many orphans never get to hear. You were not abandoned because you were unlovable. You were left because the people who brought you into this world were unprepared to protect you the way you deserved. And those two truths are very different. Now let's talk about forgiveness, because people often talk about it as if it's a duty, a requirement, a moral finish line. But forgiveness is not a deadline. It is not a favor you owe. And it is never something that should be forced out of pain. Forgiveness, when it is real, comes after understanding your own wounds, not before. You're allowed to feel angry. You're allowed to feel confused. You are allowed to feel nothing at all. Healing does not mean you erase the years you spent alone. Healing means you honor the child who survived them. Your parents coming back does not magically give them access to your heart. Blood opens a door, but trust decides whether it stays open. You don't need to rush to call them family. You don't need to rush to forgive. You don't need to rush to be okay. What you do need is permission to grieve the childhood you never had. Grieve the birthdays without candles. Grieve the questions no one answered. Grieve the version of you that learned to be strong too early. Only when you allow yourself to feel that grief can forgiveness even become a possibility, not as an obligation, but as a choice. And let me be very clear about one thing. Wanting to be chosen does not make you weak. It makes you human. We are wired to want belonging. The fact that you still hope, even after so much pain, tells me something powerful about you. You did not let the world harden your heart completely. That is strength most people never understand. If one day you choose to forgive, do it for your peace, not to ease their guilt. If one day you choose distance, do it without shame. Not everyone deserves full access to your life. You are allowed to define what family means to you now, and whether or not you forgive them, whether or not they stay. Remember this: you already survived the worst part of your story. Everything that comes next is something you get to choose. This is DJ Rose reminding you that sometimes the strongest people are the ones who learn to stand in the rain and still believe in warmth.